G'day guys, Justin here, coming at you with another video, this time my video for my NBA Player of the Month for February 2018. Had a few candidates for this one. We had LeBron James with a 27, 10 and 10 triple-double for the month. However, the team, the Cavaliers, only went 6 and 4 on the month, whilst also managing to just defeat the likes of a Memphis and a Brooklyn in that stretch. We had Joel Embiid posting an 8 and 3 record out in Philadelphia with the solid all-around game that he provides. Kevin Durant went 27 points a game on 60% for Golden State in their 8 and 3 record, I do believe it was. James Harden having another successful month, leading Houston to a 12 and 0 record on the month with 30 points a game. However, my player of the month was Anthony Davis of the New Orleans Pelicans, leading them to an 8 and 3 record with some of the most efficient and phenomenal numbers of his career for a month-long span. As we look at his monthly production in the scoring department, he had 2 games of 10 to 19 points, 2 games of 20 to 29 points, 2 games of 30 to 39 points, and these are the big ones for me. 4 games of 40 to 49 points and 1 game of 50 to 59 points. When you have a look there, 7 of the 11 games were in the 30 points or more department, so his ability to score without a DeMarcus Cousins and really carry the team is evident there. And it should also be noted that considering that the Pelicans started the month 1 and 3 and have won their last 7 as of the date of this video to end the month, he has by far and away been the most effective force in this league. As far as rebounding is concerned, he only had 2 subpar rebounding performances for me, and that was the 2 games of 5 to 9 rebounds. Like to see my bigs averaging at least 10 boards a game. He more than made up for that though with 9 games over 10 rebounds, 4 of those in the 10 to 14 rebound department, and 5 games of 15 to 19 rebounds. So high, there's below average, the expected average, and he's exceptional. They're well-rounded in that department. As far as his passing is concerned, 0 to 1 assist happened 6 times. Again, not a noted passer. However, his scoring, rebounding, and defense more than makes up for that. He actually plays his role, doesn't force the offense in other ways. And as far as the rest of his passing, he had 5 games of 2 to 3 assists, so that's about his average there. As far as his stealing is concerned, 1 to 3 steals occurred 9 times, 4 to 6 steals occurred twice. So he had good defensive numbers on ball there. As far as on ball at the rim and off ball towards the rim, in the shot blocking department, he had games of 0 to 2 blocks 7 times and 4 games of 3 to 5 blocks 4 times. So a little probably below average there. However, he is averaging around 2.5 a game in the blocks department. So not doing too bad at all. As far as his shooting is concerned, only had 5 of his 11 games were subpar performances. However, he more than made up with that in some cases. 2 games of 30 to 39.9% shooting, 3 games of 40 to 49.9% shooting, 5 games of 50 to 59.9% shooting, and he had one absolutely phenomenal game between 80 and 89.9% from the floor. So he had more games efficient than he did inefficient, and that's obviously reflective in the result. Although it must be noted that when he wasn't making his shot, he was making it from the foul line or playing some good defense, which I'll get to as far as the foul line is concerned in a moment. 3-point shooting, 0 to 32.9% 6 times, 33 to 66.9% 3 times, 67 to 100% 1 time, and that was obviously from, again, talking from deep. However, he did have a game of no attempts from the 3-point line, which to me isn't necessarily a bad thing, particularly when you're still winning games. Although it would be good to see him making a few of those threes if he's going to take them. As I mentioned, big guys nowadays, they are able to stretch right out to the 3-point line and make their shot. However, if it's not falling, it's still good to see them get inside and try and score the basketball. His free throw shooting is certainly not something to scoff at. He only had 2 subpar performances for me, and they were the 2 games between 60 and 69.9% from the free throw line. As far as 70 to 79.9%, That occurred 3 times. He had one game of between 80 and 89.9% from the stripe. And the big factor here, 5 games between 90 and 100% from the free throw line. Phenomenal free throw shooting from Anthony Davis. It's good to see a big guy shoot over 70% from the stripe. That should be a norm for any big in the league, and guards should be should be sitting about 85%, but over 80 is usually acceptable for them. And again, he's just been efficient all around in the past month. His turnovers have been reflective of that as well. Again, as a big, you have to expect some turnovers here, but 0 to 2 turnovers occurred 6 times, so he turned the ball over at a minimal rate, which was good to see, particularly for a big guy who was pouring in the points and the numbers like he has. As far as 3 to 5 turnovers are concerned, that happened 5 times. However, it must be noted that as a big guy, he's not going to be the most efficient player on the floor. The team record on the month with this kind of production resulted in 8-3, and Davis playing all of those games, obviously leading to the 8-3 as well. As we look at the key games, the 3 biggest games he played on the month. Versus Phoenix, he had 53 points, 18 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal and 5 blocks. Became the first person other than Bob McAdoo in the statistical era of the NBA, so this is since steals and blocks were recorded, to have at least 50 points, 15 rebounds and 5 blocks in a game, again with Bob McAdoo being the other. However, it should be noted that unofficially, because blocks and steals weren't recorded when the likes of Wilt Chamberlain played, that Wilt Chamberlain has at least 6 of these occurrences among a 112 game sample. Credit to Wilt Chamberlain Archive for that one, who you should go and subscribe to on YouTube and follow on Twitter. 1 turnover amongst all of this. Hugely efficient night for all the possession he had and all the effort he put in to only turn the ball over once. Pretty much a flawless game. 55.2% from the field, so he made more than he missed. No score for the 3-point department, but again, if you're going to take them, it's nice to make them. And 80.8% shooting from the free throw line. So other than making a 3-point shot, pretty much a flawless game for Anthony Davis. And of course, they got the win. It was only against Phoenix, but a dominant display nonetheless. His opponent, Dragon Bender, now this is the starting opponent, mind you, had 9 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists and 1 turnover. So a reasonably all-around game for him, however, not compared to Davis. 37.5% from the field, shooting well to be, certainly to be improved on. 50% shooting from 3. The European type player tends to want to shoot more. That's just a fact. And didn't have a free throw attempt. Meanwhile, Davis in the 4th quarter came up huge and pretty much outplayed Bender in a quarter. 16 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist and 1 block for the 1 turnover. Shot 44.4% from the field. Again, probably less to be desired, but still outplayed his opponent on the night, really, in a quarter. Didn't attempt a 3-point shot in the 4th, yet still managed 72.7% from the stripe, which is still good, as I mentioned, considering bigs should be shooting 70% in this league. Versus Miami, he had 45 points, 17 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 steals and 5 blocks. So very close to a 5-by-5 game there. However, as we mentioned, his inclination to pass when not in that role isn't necessarily there because he knows he has to play D and he has to score the basketball. And he only managed 2 turnovers amongst all of that. So again, pretty much another flawless performance there for Davis. 50% from the field, so he made as many as he missed. 16.7%, again, he did manage to make a 3. However, if you're going to put up a few, you want to make a few. That's general consensus when you shoot the basketball. And 90.9% from the free throw line. That's good for anyone in this league, whether they're a guard or a centre. That's super elite for a centre or a big man in general. The 90.9% certainly not going to have a problem with that. His starting opponent on the night was Justice Winslow. Justice had a hell of a night trying to contain him because he himself only had 4 points, 3 rebounds and 4 assists, along with 3 steals. So a reasonable defensive effort there, but when you look at the fact that Davis had 5 more blocks and 2 more steals, it does make you wonder, although his passing ability was still there. 16.7% from the field, Davis absolutely locked him down, 100% from deep. Again, a young guy coming through the system, you will find that more or less now. A lot of young guys in the system will just shoot the deep ball. That's all they watch. And 50% shooting from the stripe, certainly less to be desired. In the fourth quarter, though, Davis had 6 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 steals. Shot 50% from the field. Again, made as many as he missed. Didn't make a 3-point shot, but if you're going to make him, if you're going to take him, you've got to make him. And he didn't attempt a free throw. And the final key game I want to look at here versus Brooklyn, 44 points, 17 rebounds, 2 assists, 6 steals and 3 blocks. Again, another flawless performance from Davis here. This time the turnovers a little bit higher with 3, and he's shooting a little more rounded. 45.7% from the field, certainly not the 50%, but in a league today where they're putting up as many shots as they are, 45.7 is certainly passable, so to speak. 60% from deep, finally starting to hit his threes there. However, 64.3% certainly does dip below where he was shooting and what is basically expected at the free throw line for a big guy and an elite player in this league. His opponent on the night, Jared Allen, good on him. 8 points, 9 rebounds. What a tremendous effort there. I mean, he is playing for Brooklyn, but I mean, it's pretty tough to try and guard a guy who's just having a beast mode like this. And I can see a lot of you here that are going to question, well, you've just mentioned a game against Phoenix and Brooklyn for Anthony Davis, yet you've discredited LeBron for playing Brooklyn and Memphis. The thing I'm trying to get out here is LeBron's pedestrian happy to get that 27, 10 and 10. He's happy to keep that career average. You've got to look at something like Davis, where Davis has exploited these teams to go for big scores, to put up big defensive numbers and good rebounding numbers. LeBron's quite happy just to coast through for a 25, 10 and 10 night with these guys. He's not willing to blow the gates open and really try and get some numbers up on the board. And again, Davis is able to come in every night and do that. No matter the team, he's able to still go out and really put in some high production. However, LeBron's happy to sit there and pad the stats. And that's another reason why he wasn't a major contender for my player of the month. So again, Jarrett Allen sitting there with 8 points, no rebounds. Shot 66.7%, so he made 2/3 of the shots he took. However, he pretty much, wasn't as reflective when you want to look at it like that. He pretty much made, well, 4 or 6, that's not too bad. Can't complain there. Would have liked to send the ball, get to him a bit more. But it's a little hard when the opposition, your opponent, puts 44 and 17 with 6 steals on the board. Again, didn't take a free throw, didn't take a 3, so pedestrian numbers there at best. In the fourth quarter, though, Davis pretty much outscored him. Outplayed him in a quarter when you want to look at it. 6 points, 5 rebounds, 1 steal. Shot as good as Allen at 66.7%. Didn't make a 3. Again, if you take him, you've got to make him. And 100% shooting from the free throw line. So a little improved there in his fourth quarter production for Davis. As we sit here and look at his overall stat line for the month, along with the 8-3 record, the man averaged 35 points a game, 13 rebounds a game, 1.5 assists, as I mentioned. Not inclined to pass the ball, but with his role on the team, it's to score, grab boards and play defense. And man, did he play some defense. 2.5 steals and 2.2 blocks. Solid all-around performance there. I mean, he's certainly pushing his case for Defensive Player of the Year after a month like that, particularly against someone like an Andre Drummond. It's almost getting to a 2-horse race here. It'll be interesting to see how the votes are spread. 2.5 turnovers on 35 points a game there with that defensive production. He's more than making up for the turnovers on the steals. So he's having he had an awfully efficient month. 50.7% from the field. Again, shooting over that 50 clip is expected for a big, and certainly should be expected for most players. So that's a tremendous effort there. 34.2% from deep. Certainly can't complain about a big guy dropping the 3 ball when he was able to make them. Again, I probably showed some bad examples there of his 3-point shooting. And 83.2% from the stripe. That's good for pretty much 90% of this league. 83.2% for a big is phenomenal, let alone a guard. So solid effort, solid all-around stats for the month. And again, as I like to stress, I might have mentioned Phoenix and I may have mentioned Brooklyn when assessing Anthony Davis, but you've got to remember he was consistently putting these numbers up against these teams, the likes of LeBron coming out and having pedestrian sort of numbers and pedestrian nights, not putting in the effort they could be to really open up a conversation about themselves. Continuing on, we'll have a look at the players of the month so far. In the month of October and the month of November, I had James Harden. He, again, was a very serious contender for player of the month again. Now, just to quickly tell people, I'm not going to judge my MVP based on players of the month. I mean, James Harden had 30 points a game and led the Rockets to a 12-0 record on the month. That's not to suggest that James Harden still isn't in my MVP conversation, because he hasn't won one since November. Harden's been putting up good numbers all around. It's that these guys have just been slightly impressive on the month. Harden's been more consistent with his ability to score and pass than some of these guys. Efficiency is certainly there to be desired, and defense is, well, in a far-flung planet. But his just overall consistency has kept him in the conversation. And scoring-wise, mind you, his offense has kept him in the conversation. So October, November, James Harden. December was Jimmy Butler, really a breakout month for Jimmy Butler and the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's going to lose 4 to 6 weeks of his season with the injury he sustained. So to see him still in MVP conversation in a month's time is certainly going to be very hard, particularly with the likes of Davis and a Curry playing well. And as I mentioned there, Curry, my player for January, poured in some ridiculous numbers. However, again, was probably outplayed by Kevin Durant this month. So again, that may also hurt his argument and really bring into question who the most valuable player in that team is. Personally, couldn't vote for Curry or Durant to win the MVP. I just feel they take too much off one another and cancel one another's arguments out. But I mean, that's my opinion. You know, everyone else is a little different. And as I just mentioned, February, Anthony Davis, the guy was an absolute beast. You know, you go from 1-3 to 8-3, 7-game stretch there where he just dominated the league, and it's only warming up at the moment. I mean, he's arguably the best player under the age of 25, and probably the most underrated player and unspoken about player in the league. So he's certainly prospering, considering there were people that were witnessing him be a bust compared to someone like Damian Lillard at one point. So he's really shrugged that stigma off of him, got rid of that label, and certainly within the next 3 years has a case of being, I mean, if he's not now, he certainly will be the best all-around player in the league. And that's been me, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. Hit the like button and leave a comment. Let me know who your player of the month was, and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Hit me up on Twitter, Justin_G_Bryan. I do have a poll going as to who you guys thought was the player of the month. The options provided there are Anthony Davis, James Harden, and Joel Embiid. I do have another category called Other, and that is if your player is not listed. So don't at me or retweet me saying, oh, you didn't list blah, blah, blah. I've clearly explained the poll. The poll's fairly self-explanatory. Just go ahead and leave a vote. If it's in the other category, I'm going to assume you don't agree with the first three. Quite simple. Again, thank you very much, guys. Once again, hit the like button, leave a comment, let me know who your player of the month was, anyone I missed out, and what you thought of Davis's performance. Subscribe to the channel for more content and videos like this, and as always, hit me up on Twitter, Justin_G_Bryan, talking sports, talking life in general. Again, thank you very much, guys, for watching the video. That's been me with my NBA Player of the Month for February 2018, Anthony Davis of the New Orleans Pelicans.